Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike Wickers, Mayor of Cottonwood Heights. This is the business meeting for the Cottonwood Heights City Council for Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. I have asked our council member, Scott Bracken, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to get started.
Everyone rise, please.
Thank you, Councilmember Bracken. Item 3 on our agenda is an acknowledgement. Before each calendar year, the city officially accepts an audited update of our 2022, excuse me, 2023 budget year financial statements. We will have our Administrative and Fiscal Services Director, Scott Georges, come up for this acknowledgement.
All right, and I also have Russell Olson from our auditor, Larson and Company, who is here, and I'd like to have him come up and he can present the statements that he has, and then I'll go into the rest of the stuff shortly thereafter, after he is done here, so.
All right. Does everybody have a hard copy of what we're looking at here?
So
Okay.
he's gonna start, with these two.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to start with the bigger one, the thick one. Page 9 to be precise. Okay. All right. Or do you want me to scroll over so the people who are watching?
Yeah.
This? Okay. Yeah. So while he's scrolling there for the people who are watching, this is our audit report. And so I've been asked, by the way, I'm Russell Olson with Larson. I've been asked to be a little bit brief, and that's perfect.
Oh. Sorry,
I
have an old copy.
Because I'd planned on being brief. So I'm going to give you an abbreviated summary of an abstract of an executive summary. Does that sound good?
Love it.
Perfect.
With emphasis on brief.
Even more brief than I have been in the past. Okay. So the one that you have, the hard copy, is on page 9. This is our audit report. And I will just simply say, this is where we issue or communicate our opinion on the financial statements, which is what you hired us to do. It gives some details on how we come up with our opinion. It talks a little bit about our responsibility as auditors and your responsibility as management. The opinion in this case is that your financial statements are materially correct, meaning a clean opinion. And that is what I'm going to say about that report. You're welcome to read through it. I look at it and it's kind of in small print to get it to fit on the page. And so, yeah, that's small print for you. Okay. The rest of that packet is the financial statements and the rest of the annual comprehensive financial report. I don't know if I said those in the right order, but lots of information in there. And there's our report on that. Now we're going to jump over to the supplemental reports, which is in your hard copy, is the one that's bound. These, there's 3 reports in here, and we issue them in conjunction with the financial statements. The first one of which, on page 1, is the Government Auditing Standards Report. We do not give an opinion in this letter. we simply say that when we do a governmental audit, we look at your internal controls and we look at your compliance with certain laws, regulations, the non-compliance with which could have a financial or a material effect on your financial statements. And that's really all. We have to come in and look at those, and then we use that information to determine what audit procedures we're going to follow. Page 3. This is what we've historically referred to as the single audit report. And that name doesn't really intuitively mean anything to anybody. So what this really is it's our report on your compliance with the federal grants that you'd received during the fiscal year. In this report, we do issue an opinion, but our opinion in this report is that you complied in all material respects with the requirements of the grants that you'd received. And there is, following that report on page 6, the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So that's where it lists the actual federal grant money that you'd received and spent, well, actually spent. And in your case, in this particular case, it was mainly the ARPA funds that you received. The next letter is going to be what we call the state compliance report. So as a city in Utah, you are required to, we're required as auditors to look at specific things. So we looked at those things to determine if you're materially compliant with those items. What we found is that you are materially compliant with those things we were required to look at. With one immaterial instance that we'd like to talk about, and that's on page 14. Several years ago, the state began to require that each city or municipality government entity fill out a fraud risk assessment. So it's something that you do yourself, you fill it out, and then you turn that into the state. And part of the requirement is that that's uploaded to the transparency website and that it's presented in a public meeting. While they did their audit work, they were not able to, they were ultimately able to find it on the transparency website after we looked a little bit, but we couldn't find in the minutes where it was presented in this public meeting. And it's required to be. So in the future, we'll just have to
At a
make sure
public
that
business meeting, work session, or either?
I don't know. I don't know that it matters. I think it's just as long as it's in a public meeting.
Mayor,
So
if I may comment, as you recall, we've done that for this upcoming budget year. So we've done that. It did not occur during last year's budget year, and that's why you see this finding, but we have brought that to you and done that based on the input we received.
So it's a slippery slope for the auditor to come in and say this is not that big of a deal, but
An easy fix.
yeah, very easy
It's been
fix and
fixed.
just an oversight. So not too big of a deal. The final thing is what you probably have that's not bound. I think it's just stapled. This is a letter that we're required to give to this body, those of you charged with governance. And if we had any significant issues or problems that needed to be communicated to you, we would do that in this letter. We didn't find any of those difficulties or issues that we needed to communicate. And so what you have there is really a little bit of some cookie cutter language. Things are fine. And that is all I want to say, unless you have questions.
I would comment, there is a section here, disagreements with management. I am glad that you continue to not have those, simply because I think that means that our department heads and the people that work, Scott and Dave, that have done this for years and years and years, are, take what you say, are cooperative. We don't have, you don't, if there's a disagreement, whatever, it gets worked out. And so it's nothing that would show up in this report.
Yep.
And I'd like to commend them both. Like, Dave has been here from day one. Scott, you've been doing a fabulous job since you get here. And this is just more continuation of that.
Yes, and I'll second that, we don't like disagreements with management either. And, you know, sometimes there's a negative connotation to the word auditor. I get it, but really, we really are just here to help, and they understand that. Like we help them with whatever they need, and they're cooperative with us to do sometimes the annoying things that we have to do as auditors. And that's coming from your side of the desk. You're saying that. No. Anyway, thank you. I will answer any other questions.
Thank you. Hey, I appreciate you coming. Appreciate your work. We are unbelievably grateful for Scott and for Dave for all of the work that they do. You know, it's as important as anything we do as a city to be financially on top of the things that we do financially and within our budget. So thank you for your audit, and thanks Scott and Dave for all that you do for us as well.
Thank you. And Mayor, if you don't mind me just taking just a second, I'd like to thank the auditors, Larson's and Company, and specifically Russell, who's here today. They do a lot of review work, and there's a lot of ticks and ties throughout the financial statements. And no matter how long you look at it, you seem to always find something that isn't quite right. And get it. We were fixing something in our audit meeting that we had at 3 o'clock today that we noticed was off, and we had to make an adjustment there. Excuse me. And I'd like to point out also that Dave takes the lead on putting this particular document together, and he does the lion's share of the work, and it's a lot of work. And we've had a few sleepless nights in the last couple of weeks trying to get it all done. So I'd like to thank Dave for that, but also many others who contribute material to this. A lot of the directors contribute to this. Tim does a lot that contributes to this. It's truly a team thing to get all this information together. One other thing I would like to just review, whoops, that's the agenda. In the actual big bound report that you have, the large bound report, if you go to page 33 in that report is a very, very useful schedule. And this is kind of where all the funds are shown in one area. You can see the revenues that come in, you can see the expenditures that go out, et cetera. And I've got it represented here. So it's the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. So we're separated by our 5 different funds, and then it sums them all up so that you can see the total. It shows our revenues coming in, so you can see the bulk of our revenues do come into the general fund. Then the middle section there is our expenditures. The expenditures, you can see them go out. We got them kind of lumped up into big, sections there so that it's, displayable. And then you can see down below, you see other financing sources, which that would be where bond revenues and other things come in. You can see transfers into different funds, transfers out of predominantly the general fund. You can see down at the very bottom, you see the fund balance at the beginning of the year, and then you can see fund balance at the end of the year there. So overall, we started with 37,325,000 of fund balance spread out between all the funds and ended at 38,468,000. A lot of that is tied up in our refunding bond. You can see there's 13,199,000 in our debt service fund, and that's there holding on until July of 2024 when we can pay off our 2014 and 2016 bonds when those call dates come available. Then that will just all go away at that point in time, and our overall debt will reduce by that same amount, about $13 million. So that's a good thing that we're looking forward to in the future. But you can go through of all the reports. That's my favorite report that I refer to often, and it's the one that probably most can influence you as you make decisions budgetarily, et cetera, as you look at that. This is kind of the basis that we use for our budgets. When we're looking at our budgets and we're talking fund balance, this is the fund balance that's associated with that. And just really quick, that 9,474,000 represents about 34% of our overall budget that we're allowed to have, and that's comparable to revenues. And so that's about how that, is calculated. Technically, the binding issue is on the budget, not on the ending actuals, because that can fluctuate and be different than what your budget is. So your real bind on your 35% is to your budget in the general fund. The other funds, they're just kind of more functionary in terms of what they do and stuff. So are there any questions?
I'd just emphasize with the council what Scott just said. So, the state doesn't allow a general fund to sit at higher than 35%. And we're at 34. That does mean that we have a pretty healthy general fund balance. That I think it's scheduled to reduce a little bit next year. And that's okay. The minimum fund balance is 6, right? 5 with the state,
Yep.
1 from us.
Yep.
So we're not close to that. But anyway, we appreciate all you do. Any more questions?
It only takes one emergency or accident to really draw down on that. Plus, we have a couple of things coming down the pike, developmentally wise, policy wise, that could take some funding.
Mhm.
Good to have that.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, thank you.
Go get some sleep tonight.
I will.
Right now. I was gonna wait till the meeting was over.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dave. Okay, item 4 on our agenda is a citizen comment period. I do not currently have any citizen comment cards. Anybody online or anything we need to worry about? Okay, with that, I will open and close the citizen comment period. We do have a busy agenda as far as legislative action items tonight, so we'll begin with item 5.1, which is consideration of ordinance 406, adopting an annual meeting schedule. We had the opportunity to discuss this item in our work session earlier. Are there any other questions or comments from the council on this item? 5.1, consideration of ordinance 406. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 406.
I'll make that motion to approve ordinance 406.
Second that.
A motion to approve from Councilmember Newell and a second from Councilmember Burrell. Final questions? I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Bracken,
Enjoy yourselves, yes.
Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell,
Yes.
Councilmember Holton.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Okay, next we have item 5.2. Consideration of resolution 2023-59, approving disposal of unclaimed property or former evidence. We also had the opportunity to discuss this item in our work session. Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-59.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion to approve from Councilmember Holton and a second from Councilmember Bracken. Final questions? Call for the vote. Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell.
Yes.
Councilmember Holton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Item 5.3 is consideration of resolution 2023-60, declaring certain property surplus. We discussed this item in our work session. Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-60. $60.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion to approve from Councilmember Holton and a second from Councilmember Burrell. Final questions? I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Burrell,
Yes.
Councilmember Holton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
I will vote yes. Okay, item 5.4 is consideration of resolution 2023-61, approving entry into a grant agreement with the Utah Division of Arts and Museums for fiscal year 2023-24. We discussed this item earlier. As a council, any questions, final questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain the motion to approve resolution 2023-61.
I will motion to approve resolution 2023-61.
Second.
A motion to approve from Councilmember Burrell and a second from Councilmember Holton. I will now call for the vote. Councilmember Holton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell.
Yes,
And I will vote yes. Item 5.5, consideration of resolution 2023-62, approving an appointment to the Arts Council. Our city manager, Tim Tingy, will give us just a little bit of background about this potential appointment.
Yeah, I had the opportunity along with Paula Melger to interview Siraman, and I'm really excited to bring her name forward for appointment. She has a great background and is excited to serve. She's going to add a lot of value, especially on the marketing side of things. So I'm recommending approval of this appointment.
Questions, comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-62.
Move that we approve.
I'll second.
A motion to approve from Councilmember Bracken and a second from Councilmember Newell. Final question? Call for the vote. Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell,
yes,
Councilmember Holton,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Item 5.6 is consideration of resolution 2023-63, approving entry into an agreement with Salt Lake County for Tier 2 ZAP funding. We had the opportunity to discuss this item in our work session earlier as well. Are there any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-63.
I'll make that motion to approve resolution 2023-63.
Second.
A motion to approve from Councilmember Newell and a second from Councilmember Holton. Final questions? Call for the vote. Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell.
yes,
Councilmember Holton.
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Okay, our last legislative item for tonight is consideration of resolution 2023-64, approving an amendment to the city manager's employment agreement. We've had the opportunity to discuss this item in our previous work session. Any other questions or comments from the council?
I know there were a couple of changes that were proposed to be made, but those are.
Those are
we have got
currently
those taken
included.
care of and
Yeah,
put in there.
attorneys made those changes.
I think that was a good move. It'll give the council a little more direct input into what goes on in the future with our city manager's employment agreement. And I would move that we approved resolution 2023-60.
And I will second that and appreciate the work that Tim has done and look forward to his continued work here with in our beautiful city.
Thank you, and I will second that. We have a motion to approve from Councilmember Bracken and a second from Councilmember Holton. Final questions, comments?
I did neglect to mention, I do very much appreciate Tim's professionalism and his knowledge, and it's been wonderful to work with him.
Thank you. Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Burrell,
Yes.
Councilmember Holton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Okay, the consent calendar is our last item of business, item 6.0. Could I get a motion to approve the consent calendar, which consists of the minutes from our November 7th and 21st work session and business meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion to approve and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Move that we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.